on Zoom.
I guess one of
From, oh, Lowe's, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Martin, ready?
Ready?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Washington, Missouri Board of Adjustment meeting for Monday, April 20th, 2026. I'm calling the meeting to order. Can we do a roll call?
Gwen Montel,
Present.
Samantha Wacker. Here. Lori Struberg.
Present.
Kevin Creedy.
Here.
Mark Skornia.
Here.
Mark Piantek. Here. Aaron Buckman.
Here.
Okay, will you all join me in a pledge of allegiance? Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First on the agenda is approval of minutes from March 2nd.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passed. Next on our agenda is file number 26-0402-800 with Washington Square.
Yes, good evening, Board. So first on your agenda here, we have 800 Washington Square. This is the old KFC on Highway 47. The applicants have requested a 14-foot setback, and here's the site plan for the proposed development, which is to be a Chipotle. And there are a couple of reasons here why they've requested this setback, and why the 25-foot traditional setback does not work at this location. So one of those being this lot is part of the greater is currently part of the greater Washington Square Shopping Center complex, and is kind of bound by Highway 47 right away on one side and the private access easement, because there are no public streets in there, so it's bound by the access easement. So this lot is kind of by default, kind of narrowed into this shape. And I should mention that this is a subdivision, so the applicant is requesting a plat of this lot here to separate. And so with that as well, 25-foot rear setback is what they're requesting the variance from specifically. One, we require our parking spaces to be 19 feet deep here. And as you can see, the applicant has spelled out here that 19-foot deep parking spaces, and they're required a certain amount of on-site parking. Part of that is covered by some parking over here, but they do have some on-site parking as well, and those are required to be 19 feet deep. The other part that's required in our code is fire lane width, and so all fire lanes shall be at least 26 feet in length, and they do meet that as well. But what we're left with here, I've kind of done some math to break it down here. The total lot width, 91 feet. The required setbacks, 50 feet. So that leaves you with a buildable width of 41 feet. Parking stall depth, 19 foot. Fire lane width, 26 foot. A required impervious area of 45 feet. So you think about that front setback and then subtract that from the required impervious area. You got 20 feet, so you only have about 21 feet of buildable area with the standard setbacks. And another thing of note is that the Taco Bell to the north here also does not meet the 25-foot rear setback. And here's their site plan and some renderings of what the building will look like. Not really super relevant, but the applicant wanted to include that. And I believe we have the applicant here tonight if you want to just kind of give a brief overview.
Good evening. My name's John Shabaum with BFA. We're the civil engineers and surveyors on the project. Aaron kind of hit all the points I was going to hit, so happy to answer any questions. Those elevations were more to show the face of the building facing 47, so those south, or the two bottom pictures are going to be the elevations facing 47. We worked with City Legal when we started this project. In the code, your rear yard has to be opposite the front yard, so that's where we're kind of stuck on this one. Taco Bell to our north has the benefit of they can claim frontage to Highway 100, so technically they don't fall under this regulation, but that's why we're here tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody?
I don't have questions.
Have any questions?
No, I've spoken to Chief Frankenberg, and he's already reviewed and approved. So as far as the fire lane, so we're good.
I feel like we've, just for consistency, we've had some flexibility in that area because of the constraints that exist, and
Yes.
so it seems to be a logical request.
It was a similar request that came through a while back for Taco Bell when they broke that lot out for a subdivision. So, yeah.
I think one other thing Aaron didn't point out is the existing KFC, he mentioned it in the staff report, the existing KFC violates the existing 25 front yard setback.
Yeah, you can see it
so-
right there.
Okay.
The building is right here.
Right.
There's the front setback, so, yep, thank you.
Is anyone here to speak in opposition of this? Okay. Are you all ready to vote?
Yes.
Yep.
Do you want to read it?
Yes. Whereas the board does find and determine that the properties in question located at 800 Washington Square is within the city limits of the city of Washington and is located in a C2 general commercial zoning district, and whereas City Code Section 400.095F requires a 25-foot setback from the rear property line for properties in the C2 district, whereas the applicant is requesting a variance from these requirements by proposing a 14-foot rear setback, now therefore be it resolved that the request to vary the code to allow a 14-foot rear setback be granted, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the City of Washington are met. The City Council is hereby authorized to approve the submitted final plat as described in accordance with this resolution of the decision. Roll call, Kevin Creedy,
Yes.
Gwen Mantle,
Montal.
Montal, Gwen Montal. Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
sorry, sir.
Oh, sorry, all good.
Yes.
Mark Scornia,
Yes.
Samantha Wacker,
Yes.
Lori Struberg.
Yes.
All right.
Congratulations by the votes, it's approved. Ready to move on? File number 26-043-2023, Washington Crossing, Lowe's.
Yes, so this is a variance for Lowe's and the amount of off-street parking that they're required to provide here. Our code describes Lowe's as a hardware store, and so they're required to provide 2 parking spaces plus 1 additional parking space for each 300 square feet of floor area over 1,000. So that means they are required to provide 500 off-street parking spaces. And some background about why they are making this request is in February, planning staff received a complaint from the general public regarding excessive storage of material on site, and how staff has treated these requests in the past is as long as a business is not storing material, as long as the material stored on site does not exceed the amount of off-street parking that we require, that is A-OK. This is not a formal process, though, and that is something that staff is looking to formalize with a code change. But as it currently stands, this is kind of just treated as okay as long as you do not exceed the amount of off-street parking spaces required.
Can I interrupt?
Yes,
You mean
absolutely.
Exceeding the off-street, you mean exceeding covering or blocking?
Correct, yes,
500?
thank you for that
Because they
clarification.
have more than 500 spots.
That's correct,
So it's
yes.
just historically, as long as they've not blocked more than 500.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, yes.
That the record was clear and that we were understanding correctly.
Absolutely, yes. No, that is our interpretation as well. And I've just pulled up a few photos here. These are other examples of other businesses that have stored material on their parking lot. Just a variety of businesses here in Washington. So I guess going back to the history here. So Lowe's, they were in violation. They were storing more material than was allowed, and so they removed material from around 40 parking spaces. And they were advised that if they wanted to store additional material, kind of as they had been, that they could apply for a variance to lower their number of required off-street parking spaces. So this is less about storing vehicles and more so about storing material on site. And so that being said, this is their site plan specifically. It lists Their existing parking spaces, 606 spaces. They're going to have 144 spaces for that are going to be temporary storage, March through July. 9 spaces for gravel storage, so on and so forth. And so that combined will be about 191 spaces that'll be covered by material for some part of the year. And so they are requesting to lower the amount of off-street parking required to 415 spaces. Staff is explicitly neutral on this requirement, or this variance ask. We can see how it could be a variance, but frankly, I think it's best to present the information to the board as is. So given that, I've prepared some retail parking calculations of some area stores, kind of that 50,000 or above big box retail stores and their required off-street parking spaces. Lowe's being a hardware store required 500 spaces. Once you get into more general retail, we're kind of a bit more lax. So Schnucks, 150, Walmart, 600. And granted, these aren't all apples to apples because, the size of the structure is, what determines the parking calculation, but, all have fairly similar traffic volumes. So that being said, I believe the applicant is on Teams. Let's see, let's go over here. Todd, if you want to give a
Yeah, hi, my name is Todd Bartok. I'm the Senior Construction Manager for Lowe's here in Morningville, North Carolina. Appreciate you all having us here and especially having us on the Teams call. Saves us a great deal of time and money. We really appreciate the effort. So we are seeking a variance for being underparked, but we have known since, actually for quite some time, that the parking regulations throughout the country are in excess of our use. We rarely get over 200 parking spaces at one time during even peak season. So one of the reasons that we are seeking the variance is, although we don't need the parking spaces, we do need the storage space, especially from March 1st through July 31st for our spring season sales, where we're bringing in a lot of mulch and just all the springtime gardening that we're doing. So plant material, soil, mulch, sand, rock, stone, building block, that material. And if you want me to go through what's in those areas that we're calling out there, I don't know if you want to pull that plan up. Very rarely do we, when square footage is counted for parking, typically it's sales floor area, not just square footage, because, we have offices and restrooms and various other ancillary uses in the building that are not sales floor. So, and typically throughout the country, the garden center is counted substantially less. So it may look like a giant footprint, but it's really 92,000 square feet of sales area.
Aaron,
And I'm sorry, but I cannot hear anyone on council, so if I need to stop, please.
okay.
Charles, put your hand up.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're
I know Gwen had a question, I have a
We're
question too.
tracking.
gotcha.
okay, Aaron,
Yep.
Lowe's was built,
So.
Oh, sorry, we
and
got
I
a
just wanted to
question
keep-
real quick.
tell him to stop.
Sorry,
Yeah.
hold on.
Okay.
Lowe's was built before we changed the parking requirements, right?
We changed the general retail parking requirements. Hardware stores have been the same since the 90s, I believe.
I can add a little bit to that. and
Sure, yeah.
It adds one of my concerns here. When I was on planning and zoning, when the shopping center came to town, one of the concerns was that big box stores have a proclivity for wanting to put a whole bunch of connexes, storage containers, on parking lots. And that was a specific point in the discussion that the parking lot wouldn't have an excessive amount of storage containers on it and basically trashing up the looks of the shopping center. So that is a concern. I don't know if they're willing to limit to material rather than containers, or if that's even a concern.
So I hear what you're saying, Mark, too. I drove through there on my way here, and, you know, you've got large trucks that go to the hardware place. You've got trucks with trailers that are taking up 2 spots at the same time. You've got trailer hooks sticking out into the parking areas. When I drove through next to all of that outdoor sales, I could barely get through there when somebody else was trying to come through. It seems a little dangerous to me to have all of that out in the parking lot, especially during, I mean, I went through there today, it's a Monday, it's not even a busy day, and I have some concerns with it. I do have a question, though.
Sure.
The overall development, how many lots are there, and what is code for the entire development?
In that shopping area? Oh geez, that's something I have not looked at per se. How many lots are there? We can pull that up.
I can go
Lori, are you
back to
asking
history.
lots or
I-
parking spaces?
Parking spaces,
Okay,
sorry.
she's
Parking
asking about the
spaces,
number
yeah.
of parking spaces.
Well, we can review it all.
Okay.
I mean, it met code whenever it was
Okay.
built. I can assure
The,
you
the
that.
question
it probably
was,
exceeded it.
is what's the number of parking spaces in the total shopping center, and you know, does it meet code? And we're kind of working through
Okay.
that at the moment.
Okay.
Okay, so I had a question for the applicant.
Yes.
The applicant made a comment about that they said they only use 200 parking spots at a time. How are they arriving at that number, and is that year-round? Is that seasonal? Does that count employees? Where are they arriving at that number? So I don't know if the applicant can answer that.
Sure. Yeah. The question is, you had made a comment about 200 parking spaces at a time. Where does that number come from? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, we've had several traffic studies and parking studies done throughout the country when we run across this before. Some of the areas required that. We provided the traffic study, and that's what we came up with. At peak season, we were around 200.
Okay. Is that at this store, or is that throughout the country?
The question is
It's
that
not specific to this site.
Okay.
And what's your peak season?
what's the peak
I didn't
season?
hear that one.
What's the peak season number?
Our spring, and we're right at like 190. On a busy, hot Saturday, we're about 190.
And if we could get an answer on the shipping containers.
Yes. Will there be any shipping container storage as part of this on-site storage, or will it mostly be kind of just material that you'll be storing?
Just material. We don't do shipping containers. If we have to have a shipping container brought in because we're doing a remodel inside, the general contractor will pull a specific permit for that, and the jurisdiction will tell them where they can have it on site for that limited time. But the only thing we have on site that is our recycling appliance trailer that's in the back of the store, shown there in blue.
Yeah, let me pull that up. The recycle,
Yeah, right
So-
there. Yeah.
this right here.
Yeah.
Correct, and what that does is that anytime we have a return on an appliance, it will go into that recycle trailer. And then that trailer gets swapped out once a month.
Guess I'll play devil's advocate here a little bit, but I mean, if they're shorting themselves parking spaces, they're only hurting themselves, right? So they're not going to take away parking spaces from customers. They're there obviously to spend their money.
Well-
I do have the concerns that Mark has, that it, that it is presentable and as Lori said, safe to drive and make those types of situations.
Except they're
but
not shorting themselves, they're potentially shorting other businesses in the development.
I don't think they are where they're located. I mean, if they were in the middle of the development and people were encroaching upon them, I think it'd be one thing, but they are all the way to the end, and regardless of, I mean, the material typically is placed up closest to the building anyway, so I think we're losing parking spaces down around Arby's, right? I mean, it's not the ones up close to the building that we're probably talking about losing here.
I have a couple of quick comments. Your code allows for variances because of exceptional narrowness of the property, which I don't think anybody would argue. Exceptionally shallow, which I don't think anybody would argue, or the shape of the property is unique or for some other exceptional topographic reason. And unless you meet one or more of those requirements, a variance is not allowed. If there's an issue with the code requiring too many parking spaces, that's a problem for the city council to address in planning and zoning and city council to possibly revise the parking requirements. But it's not a reason to grant a variance, in my opinion.
Can we, as a group, recommend this go to P and Z?
Sure, you can make a recommendation. You can make a recommendation to P and Z that they review the parking regulations and with a view towards possibly reducing them or reducing the number of parking spaces required.
I mean, I'd like to hear if there's anybody, you know, I know you haven't probably gotten to that point yet, but if there's anybody in the audience that has comments in favor or against, or, I mean, I don't know if there's other business owners here that were here to weigh in, or if they're here for other things.
When I was looking at the proposal, Lowe's wants to go from 500 to 415. If they were a regular retail store, it was in the report that they'd only need 430 parking spaces.
That is correct, yes.
And so they'd only be going down 15 parking spaces from that. I agree that you rarely see the Lowe's lot full. I agree that we have safety concerns. I do feel like with Mark's comments.
That's the killer.
It's something that we're gonna, yeah.
Is there a special use permit or something underneath P and Z? There's nothing that.
Well, that's the other part of this whole piece is this is not a formal process in our zoning yet, and that's why I kind of directed this towards this board, you know. But I agree with Mark. I think that makes a lot of sense, and yeah, that would be a recommendation that I'd be in favor of. I think that would provide some direction to staff as to where to take this. So.
Does anybody want to move for that recommendation, or how do we
We got a
formalize that?
public comment.
Open it
Oh.
up, please.
I didn't see anyone who wanted to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Did anyone want to talk about it?
Yeah, good enough. I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Mark in that case, and yes, I don't think it's applicable for us to award a variance on the notions that he stated.
Lowe's is one of my favorite stores. I call it the adult toy store, so
Yeah.
buy a lot of toys there, but
Okay, so how do we formally make a recommendation, Mark?
just take a motion and a vote, and a second and a vote to recommend to the planning and zoning that they review the parking regulations for hardware stores.
Okay, so
I will move that, as Mark said, that we recommend that planning and zoning review the parking requirements for hardware stores.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? No.
And
Then
then,
do we need to vote on this
yes,
particular
you still need to vote
proposal?
on the variance, yes.
Okay,
So
so
the-
Aaron, will you read it, please?
Yes, just real quick. Todd, the formal action was to recommend, I don't know how much of that you heard, but the formal action was,
None of it.
okay. The formal action was to recommend changes to the off-street parking requirements for hardware stores, to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I will get with you about what that'll look like, and we're gonna vote on the variance here right now. So I will go ahead and read that. Whereas the board does find and determine that the properties in question, located at 2023 Washington Crossing, is within the city limits of the city of Washington and is located in a C2 commercial zoning district. And whereas City Code Section 400-265C requires furniture or appliance stores, hardware stores, machinery or equipment sales and service stores to provide 2 parking spaces plus 1 additional parking space for each 300 square feet of floor area over 1,000 square feet. Whereas the applicant is requesting a variance from these requirements by requesting they only be required to provide 415 off-street parking spaces. Now therefore be it resolved that the request to vary the code to allow 415 required off-street parking spaces granted, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the City of Washington are met. The required off-street parking for Lowe's shall be as described in accordance with the resolution of decision. Kevin Creedy.
Not against the proposal, but I don't think we have the purview to vote on this, so I'm going to say no.
Win Mantle. Montal.
Same, no.
Mark Scornia.
Hey,
Samantha Wacker.
Nay.
Lori Struberg.
Nay.
Okay, there we go. The variance,
Didn't hear anything, so,
the variance was denied.
okay.
maybe you can explain
Thank you.
to him that, yeah, what the previous recommendation was.
I think did you hear what the board recommended? What I conveyed
Not sure
to you?
he
that
understood that.
they're-
No, there's no volume on my side off that.
I apologize. The board formally recommended that the Planning and Zoning Commission take a look at the off-street parking requirements for hardware stores. So I will get with you and determine what that'll look like as to moving forward. But the board is supportive of that motion, and we'll go from there. So.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Have a great night.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, moving on. File number 26-0404, 600 West Front Street.
Okay, yes, so this is about Mangiabella, also more commonly known as Elijah McLean's, and they are proposing a backlit sign on their property. The sign that you can see there is on screen, and there's kind of a little arrow pointing to where it'll be, kind of at the northern portion of their property along Front and Stafford Streets. So where this comes from is in our supplementary regulations of our sign code. We call out specifically this C2 here: internally or backlit cabinet signs shall be prohibited within any city historic district, design review area, or any other district or properties listed on the National Register of Historic Places or any historic landmark, unless determined to be a contributing element to the historic district or landmark. So that being said, what is the design review area? This is an area that was established in 2006, and essentially it is the main action piece that our Historic Preservation Commission uses. And so any improvement within the design review area must be reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission, and this includes most exterior renovation elements, including signs. And how the Historic Preservation Commission works is they are mandatory review, voluntary compliance. And I got that up there. And then the other piece of this is staff would just like to note that this regulation has been consistently enforced since it was adopted. It was adopted in 2017, and there are only 4 existing backlit signs from before this code was in place, and I've kind of pointed them out here on a map, and they're given location within the design review area. Here are some examples of signs that are not backlit, but still provide effective lighting. And so, given that the Historic Preservation Commission must review all improvements, such as signs, they had a meeting last week. And let's see here. Yeah, they had a meeting last week and recommended approval of this sign. Most of the board was fairly positive. I'm going to read some comments here. Some commission members feel the sign is appropriate. Some wish that it would be dim. Some say the sign is tastefully done, not close to any residential spaces, and they like that it is not all lit up. There's kind of a lot of black here. They like that the backlit part is only kind of the lettering here. That being said, our chair of the Historic Preservation Commission is taking a little bit of a different tone, and I'm going to read out some comments from her specifically. While I appreciate the investment being made in this historic property and the desire to create a visible, successful business, I cannot support the use of a backlit sign in this location. Our historic district guidelines are in place to protect something much larger than any single building or business. They preserve the overall character, authenticity, and visual cohesion of the district as a whole. That quote-unquote sense of place is what makes our community unique, attractive, and economically vibrant. Backlit signs, while common in modern commercial corridors, introduce a visual element that is inconsistent with the historic character of the district. They tend to appear brighter, more uniform, and more contemporary than traditional signage, drawing attention in a way that disrupts the architectural integrity of historic streetscapes, especially on a historic home. In contrast, a traditional design sign with external lighting would achieve the same goal of visibility while remaining compatible with the historic setting. This approach reflects how the signage was historically illuminated and allows the building itself to remain the focal point. Approving a backlit sign, even in this single instance, sets a precedent that could gradually erode the historic character we are charged with protecting. Preservation decisions are cumulative, and consistency is key to maintaining the integrity and value of the district over time. For these reasons, I would encourage the applicant to pursue an alternative signage solution that aligns with our established guidelines and supports the long-term preservation of the district's character. So that's kind of how the Historic Preservation Commission, kind of a split jury there. Most did, vote for approval. Something to note, that was an email from our chair, so she was not at the meeting. But staff's view on this sign is, frankly, we've done a pretty good job. Well, we have done a good job at enforcing this code throughout, and there is nothing about this property specifically that staff can see as a reason would be to approve the variance as is. It's within the design review area. The building is historic. Let's see, did I have anything else?
The only portion that's backlit is the top.
Correct, that is correct, yep. That's not correct? The lower level is backlit as well.
Oh.
Oh.
Would anyone like to speak on behalf of this?
Good evening, Ben Ziegler, Ziegler Signs. I was here last week at the
Historic Preservation Commission meeting.
and we talked about history, and that's what it was. That is the Elijah McLean's is the original sign that's 40-plus years that was on the property for, almost as long as I've been around, or we are not even 100% sure when it was actually put up, but most of the people on the committee were remembered as a kid. So the thing about putting back a historic piece into downtown Washington is what is driving this whole thing. And everybody that was in the board last week approved this. So this is just what'd you say, was it email from somebody that just had their?
Yeah, the chair had some comments, and that's what I read off, correct.
Gotcha. So, yeah, last week, the meeting was very positive. They loved how we're putting from the original entrance, it goes back who knows how long. The biggest problem with Elijah Majuel now is you don't know they're there. And everybody, they are on the very far quarter of Front Street, where all the bars and restaurants are further down. And it has been a hardship for them, and they're struggling. They're trying to get people there, but they have no signage whatsoever. And they really don't. They were going to use the pedestals at the entrances, but they found out the first sign permit that those aren't even theirs, where some of the other signs have been before. That's city-owned.
Okay.
So this is actually theirs. They cleared out all the trees. They made it look nice. I'm still working with Robert's dad I want to put leave the gates, just because of the historic part of things and mount it to that, but either there and there. But the sign is only single-sided. We did some lumens tests. The Majabella sign is routed face, and I think a lot of the confusion with the code and with where we're at is the term backlit. That's a term that is just, people are thinking backlit is thinking, oh, that's a big aluminum sign, white face with lettering and stuff. That backlit is a terminology. We can have halo signs.
That's correct,
channel
yep.
letters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Those are lighting the back. They're internally lit and face towards the back. And then if we did a channel letter, which are front lit and halo lit, it's the same lighting that lights the back, but it lights the front. So it's not a cabinet. Where it goes down is, I don't want either in downtown Washington to have a bunch of big lighted cabinets and look like, it's distasteful, and I don't want it. I appreciate downtown and the way it looks and the historic factor of it, but every location is different, and you cannot one size fits all everything. That's why, we looked at the code, Darren and I, many, many, many years ago, and it's something that has to be adjusted, and I think that's a secondary topic that we're gonna discuss is when it was changed in 17 and just the technology and the differences what people have, it's about bringing people to your business and letting people know, but doing it tastefully. You know, the architecture of the building, the historic of the sign, the logo. I mean, with the sign like that, I can control the lighting, I can control the color temperature. The bottom sign, it's lit, but you can barely tell it's lit. It's old, it's back sprayed, it's just, when it's lit up, it just is, I mean, we did a lumens test, it's like 200. It's just so low, I mean, it's nothing, and we can tile it down, but it's clean, it's crisp, it's easily viewed from a distance. Per code, I can do a 75-foot square foot LED or a neon sign up there and make it look like Las Vegas, per code. Will I do that? No, it would not look good, but per code, that's what I can. That's what scares me about this whole thing. Per code, I can put up a monster billboard sign at 47-100 that looks horrible per code. So I think it just becomes a balance to really say, okay, the Front Street corridor, which is bars and restaurants typically, it's just, it needs to be, it's a lot of walking, it's a lot of driving. You go past it, you don't see it, you turn around, it's frustrating, and you're not sure. And you have a hotel, you have a club, and you have a restaurant up there. It's quite confusing. So that's where, you know, what do you do with a situation when the hotel changes ownerships and they want a sign? How do you work that? Because of the situation it is.
Okay,
But at the
thank you
club.
very much.
So my biggest concern was that it's much more controlled this way than it is, you know, just not have it at all.
Absolutely.
So what other options do you have for lighting this sign within the bounds of the code?
I mean, I could do the whole sign in neon on the top.
Okay, what else can you,
But it's not gonna look good.
okay,
It'd be hard to read.
what else can you do that will look good?
I mean, the cast light it, you're not gonna see it as well from a distance. It
Does that
doesn't give you
mean
the
lights
impact.
in front shining on
I
it?
mean, you do a cast light, all that is it's, most people call them, you know, they're garden lights. They're not going to physically fool the eye, you're not gonna see that down the street. I mean, you have, and I went by or drove around town, there's 3 or 4 more that are lit, that are,
In the design review area?
oh yeah, in downtown. Some of them are only a few months old, so.
Oh, I guess that is one thing I forgot to mention to the board, and this is fairly relevant, is that there is another business that put up a backlit sign without a sign permit, and staff is working to, make sure they get a sign permit and go through the proper processes. But, that was kind of found out in reviewing this whole variance, so. But I am aware of that one, yes.
We follow the rules, and that is exactly the same thing. It's not, it's a routed backlit sign. I've seen it at night. It's not repulsive. It's clean. It's a inexpensive way to use the signs they already had on property. It's just, it needs to tie in with the core, and to be able to pull the original sign that was at that facility in there, that is my main push. If this place was called Elijah McLean's, it'd be easy, but it's not, so we have to try to get, with it being up that high and trying to, with the offset in the street and the ground, it's gonna be tricky. I mean, I'm not saying it won't work, but it won't give them what they need to know where it's down the road, that there is something past there. Because Sugar Fire and possibly something else that's coming, they're all gonna you're gonna be going through this all the time. Because it's hard to tell people not to have, and certain things do look good not lit with cast. It's per location, business, visibility, viewability, and it's just kind of almost a per thing. So I don't know if there's a way we can look at this to try to maybe have a corridor in Washington for this district or something to come up with to work with the sign code, because we've done more variances in the past 6 months than we have in 10 years.
Right.
So, question?
Anything?
Is the variance related, the variance cover this particular sign, or does it cover anything that could be installed in the future?
Just this sign.
Just the sign, but once you say yes, it opens the floodgates.
Which we do
That's-
this
yeah.
across the nation with so many different municipalities. We do variance hearings everywhere, and it is specifically to a hardship of a location. They are up on the hill, there's 3 different businesses, they don't have any visibility from Front Street. They need a sign down there, and they need it to be as clearly visible as they can from the farthest distance. To accomplish that is this. To put a cast light on it, it's like holding a flashlight versus having it, nice, clean, crisp. And like I said, we can adjust that it's not gonna look bad. I'm not gonna do anything that's gonna look bad. It's just, we look in our position as what's gonna give the best visibility, architectural, design theme to that company that is within code, which that we'll talk about, but it's just, I don't wanna do something and get messed up in the gray area and make it look bad just because, you know, that, so.
But, you know, I would point out I mean, this is not within code, though.
It's not, but it's, I mean, the problem is there's so many signs that are not within code that have been like that for so many years. And I guess it seems to be that code is what we need to look at, because with the last one and different things, times change, and we have with our association, an entire department team that, based out of Washington DC, that helps municipalities all over the United States balance their sign code between city, municipalities, and business. I mean, because it's hurting him, and people focus on, hey, it doesn't look pretty, but it doesn't look pretty when you have an abandoned building up there and there's no restaurants or stuff like that. So it's important that there's a balance, and, you know.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
With the residential that is along that area, you know, from, what is the tavern there? Anyways, all the way to Elijah McLean's, can you see it? I mean, because that's hillside where the residents that live on top. Yes, where that is. Can you see that sign from
On the
down
corner
there?
Down there, I mean, there's not a good spot, period.
Right, but I'm saying is like if you're on the sidewalk down there, can you visually see that sign during the day?
So from Tipsy Keg.
Huh? From Tipsy Keg, can you
I
even
don't
see
believe
it?
so,
Good.
no.
I mean, from down on the front, do you have a street view of that?
I can pull that up, yeah.
A street view.
I don't believe you can for the distance and the slight curvature in the street. I don't
It's
believe
gonna
it'd be
be the
visible.
old guy walking there.
Okay, Tipsy, that's right here, okay.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah, there it is.
Yep.
You can see it. So
Okay.
when you're on the left side where those telephone poles and driving, it's one of those things, you've driven somewhere, you're looking for a place you've never been, you miss it, you go past it, you have to turn around, you're trying to find it, you've already frustrated, and that's what you want to try to, you just want nice, clean, directional signage, and
That's part of, I mean, the historic district's discontinuous, right? So you got downtown, and Elijah McLean's is its own little island out there in the
Exactly,
middle.
it's not-
If this sign was located across the street,
yeah.
just across the street, there'd be no issue, right?
Exactly, and it would, to me, as if it was where the bar is across this, what is it? Draft room, you know, it's right there. I mean, you're not trying to find it, it's right there, it's right in front of your face, it's right in the hub of it. This is so far down and so past the, I wanna call it the district of the scene, you know, Tipsy Keg and Sugar Fire and what's gonna be coming here shortly, hopefully, is one thing. It's even farther, and that's a disadvantage to them, you know, and that's the main reason we're doing this. And then you throw in the original sign, and that's why I'm pretty passionate about the original sign.
Awesome. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you so much.
Is anyone here who wants to speak also about it? Hi, who are you?
Robert Alstead. First of all, appreciate you guys having us down here to be able to talk to this. Again, just kind of hitting on some of the points that Ben had made. One of our biggest struggles is visibility, and then also just kind of marrying the two names. Everybody kind of knows that Elijah McLean's is there. Obviously, with prom season coming up, everybody goes there to be able to take their pictures of prom. And so most people do not really know that there is a restaurant operating out of it. I mean, most notably, it was in the 80s, 90s, and then up until 2000 where it shut down. So marrying the name of the Mangiabella and then Elijah McLean's on the sign was obviously very important to us. And then, like I said, most people are very confused whenever they come in. They don't really know where they're going on property. We're working on some small signage to be able to, you know, kind of direct that traffic. But the biggest thing is getting them onto the property itself and just kind of making some awareness to the fact that there is a restaurant there. And then, again, we're not trying to affect or, you know, negatively have any appearance on Front Street, because obviously, you know, being in downtown Washington, it's very important for it to have a nice appearance. You know, the whole idea is to be able to incorporate something that is original into what we're trying to do. And again, bring some life into a new building, or new life into an old building. So we just think this would be, our best route to be able to, continue to bring life to it. And, it's a small family-owned and operated business. I moved home from Florida to be able to run this business. And, we have upwards of 25 full-time employees that, without us being there, they would be out of a job. And, it would just be a dormant building, without any real use, so.
Awesome.
No,
Thank you
that's-
very much.
yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Tell us why specifically compliance with the sign code is a hardship.
Why the hardship?
Yes, why is there a hardship for you to comply with the sign code?
Again, it harms us, quite a bit financially. For people to be able to not know, where we are, the messaging of, just people kind of knowing in general where it is, but also if you are looking for it, specifically, most people don't necessarily know it's up on the hill. There's not a ton of visibility. From that view on Front Street, obviously you can see that corner, so it's a good place for advertising. But you can't see the building itself until you're essentially, perpendicular to it on Front Street. So, having that visibility down there would, greatly affect the fact that, we'd have that ability to advertise. And, like you said, financially it's tough, especially for new businesses. So, we're just trying to be able to have that advantage of having some sort of frontage and some signage to, hopefully continue to bring some life into it and continue operating out of it, because it's a real privilege to be able to work out of that building. It's almost 200 years old, and the sign that we're trying to reincorporate into it, like he said, is 50 years old. So it's not like we're trying to do something completely new. We're just trying to add to it, and again, marry the two ideas that there is a new restaurant being operated out of it.
So you all are
Can I answer
feeling the way you're lighting this sign in your proposal
Correct.
is pretty much the classiest way you can do it and most effective.
Yes, yeah. It's not meant to be, as bright as humanly possible. It's not to be gaudy or to, negatively affect how downtown looks. Like he said, the garden lighting wouldn't be as effective because the height and to be able to put it in between the posts as effectively as possible. Really the idea of the backlighting is to make it look as nice as humanly possible. Like we said, neon would be fine, but that's obviously not what we're trying to go for here. The whole reason we are trying to jump through all these hoops is so that we can have something that looks nice. And again, goes with the motif of the building itself. I mean, we've done quite a bit of work on just the building. If you haven't been there recently, I mean, it's really beautiful. Take a look into the dining room. We're very proud of it, and we're trying to continue to do that. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Any further
Board
questions?
questions?
I think just having been there, it is a very nice restaurant. I think you do get a large number of out-of-town people come to eat there from the surrounding area, so I think there is a need. People go downtown. It is so far down there on the outskirts that unless you really know where you're going or familiar with it, it is, I could see somebody from out of town having difficulty finding it, because you get through the downtown area, it almost looks like you get into a residential area. You're like, where'd it go? I haven't run into it yet.
And again, those are up on their own hills, and it being down on that corner, you really can't see it unless you were down on the sidewalk and, from the residences themselves. There's really no.
So I guess I'm a little torn on this, because if somebody's coming in from out of town, they're going to put it in Google and they're going to find it, right?
We have had quite a few issues from Google, Apple, and Waze, where it takes people around the property, but not necessarily onto it. I don't remember the street that makes an L just to our west. That's the easiest
Main.
way in.
Main
Yeah.
and Johnson.
So it doesn't necessarily direct you in any sort of specific way through any of those three. I've sent appeals in direction to any of them to try to direct them, through Front Street and then up the driveway, because that is the main attraction as you come up it. We have those garden signs going onto the pillars, and then we've lit up the crow's nest at the top of it to try to make it, look as pretty as humanly possible, to, again, bring as much life to that building as possible. But a lot of those different map places, their directions are not always clear.
So knowing that, if Google and Waze and everyone is taking you in the wrong place, they're still not going to see that sign then, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, you'd see the sign, coming down Front Street.
Sure, but what
If
you're
they're-
saying is if
Right.
it's taking you down Main Street and people are getting lost that way, they're not going to see it anyways, right?
No,
That's
I-
that's a signage issue on Johnson Street.
Yeah.
I can't get any of the maps to take them like around the property in general.
But if
It
you-
just gets confused.
If you have a sign on Johnson Street, that will bring people in.
Right, it would to say
That would-
enter from Front Street.
Mm-hmm.
That would
Right.
probably solve the problem you're describing.
It wouldn't direct them in the way that we're trying to bring them up through Front Street.
Well, and that might be a
That-
website
that is-
issue
that is
too.
the main
That's
entrance, and
that's a
I mean,
Google and Waze
Well,
problem
and it's
there.
also a website issue too, to describe to your customers, how to get to your business.
Generally running commercial traffic through a residential area is probably
Right.
not a preferred method
Right,
either. so.
right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel most people necessarily look at the website for directions to be able to how to enter a restaurant. I personally don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah. I have a lot.
I'll look on there for an address or a menu, but I've never looked for a specific direction on how to enter.
And-
And then I think I heard Kevin say just briefly, we're not looking for people to come through on, Main or Johnson, because that is residential. We're looking for them to come from, the commercial to the business district. As, again, we're trying to put signage on the front of the property to direct people through the main entrance.
Okay.
It's interesting, you have a sign that's already grandfathered in,
Right.
essentially. So, the twist is, the code and the adding the additional sign, you do have the, downtown folks or the, can't think of the.
Historic Preservation
Historic
Commission.
Preservation folks, throwing credence behind it, which is interesting, but that still doesn't alleviate the code, so. Hence the need for adjustment, so.
I'm interested to see if there's anybody else that wants to speak.
Anybody for or against?
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak to this? Come on up. Please identify yourself as you come up. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Andrea Rao. I drive Front Street every day, multiple times a day, and I have directed so many people to different places on the west end of Front Street, in particular Elijah McLean's, because people drive down, they drive back, they get lost, and then as we've grown up in this town, if you start on Main Street down at Market, and then you head west, Market stops. And then Market begins again, not Market, Main Street begins again. So it is very confusing. And if you've driven by this corner in the last few months, you will notice a great improvement. Elijah McLean's, which will always be Elijah McLean's. That's right. It's a great improvement to the trees and the landscape to look there. I think signage to benefit our community, to look toward this beautiful historic place, which is now much better preserved than it ever was, is a really beneficial thing, not only to the community, but especially to the people that many of us have guided to go down to see and to perhaps dine there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if there's anybody else.
Okay. Anyone else? Please identify yourself.
I'm Al Bear. I'm in the first block of Main Street, Washington. Sat on historic preservation when I first got on the city council a little bit, and always seemed like a hurdle to get the backlit signs done, no matter what fashion they're in. The halo signs he's talking about, Heritage Lofts, you put up there is one of them. I think it's beautiful. I think Kevin kind of nailed it on the head here. They're on a little island out there. We've dealt with, before my time on the council, we dealt with have to add parking because you're not in downtown, but now you're in a review district, And you have to abide by these rules, and it's really confusing for an owner down there that's putting some money into restoring a sign that's got some history to it. We want to put it up, we want to have it there. That comes on us a little bit. So back up to your previous item, and, you know, we want to go back to P and Z and talk about that. We need to look at the sign code, I think. I think there's a lot of description in there that are misleading. The cabinet backlit, in this case, is, as Ben said, it's not a 4x4 all-white sign with, says Al's Cafe. It's a different look, and I think that's part of why you guys are here, to look at each individual thing and see what we can do to make sure a business owner in town can make their business work, and we can make something out of a nice historic building up there continue to work. So that's my 2 cents, whatever it's worth. Probably not 2 cents.
Thank you. Have we heard enough?
I think so. I just,
Anyone else?
yeah, I just want to say that, you know, again, I think the intent of the code is that obviously they don't want the sign to overpower the historic nature of the building, right? Number one, I think the location of this sign is not in front of the building. It's to direct the most people from downtown to the side. So it's not in competition with Elijah McLean's itself, which I believe is the true nature of the code. It is a good-looking sign. Like I said, I think in the true nature of things, I think there's probably other signs you could use there, yes. Will they have the same impact as this one? Probably not. But again, I think every situation is unique. That, as he mentioned, it is an island. You're trying to draw people to an area that's not typically seen as the entertainment area of Washington, Missouri, right? I mean, it's several blocks to get down there. So you either got to know where you're going, or something's got to lead you to that area. So.
Well, and it sounds to me, it has been almost 10 years now since the sign code was reviewed. I mean, I was on planning and zoning and I think you were too, and we did a lot of work at that time and got a lot of input, and it wasn't a willy-nilly thrown together sign code. It was a long thought-out process, but clearly, you know, in 10 years' time, technologies change and things do get different. This, you know, my hesitancy with giving variances on the sign code is we get on a slippery slope. Everybody's going to want one, and not everybody necessarily is going to come with a tasteful option. And, you know, I don't know that, I don't know that I'm hearing the hardship issue here, and that's my concern. What I am hearing, and I am sympathetic, I think we need to we need to consider as a group whether we would recommend that planning and zoning review the sign code. And, you know, because clearly this is going to become an ongoing issue with the new technologies that may be very well appropriate for historic areas. It's just, you know, as it's written.
Doesn't work.
I mean, Mark, are you hearing hardship that would allow us to grant a variance here?
No, I'm not, but, and I would go back to, you had a request for a variance from the sign code a few months ago for Hoffman Hillerman. And you might remember at that time, the existing sign was a non-conforming sign, and they wanted to change the sign for various reasons. And my memory is you all approved that because the replacement sign was going to be less non-conforming than the one
Yes.
that was already
Correct.
there.
Correct.
And you would be going the opposite direction with this.
How about the fact that, that we do have a grandfathered sign in there?
Well, it's not grandfathered because the sign is, the sign itself is old. This would be putting it up in a new location, in a new fashion. Is that correct?
I don't know where the existing sign is.
Yeah,
There's- yeah,
it's
I
not
mean-
grandfathered.
Yeah,
I think they're just taking it from another location that it was on at one
Okay.
point.
And that would be considered a new sign.
Gotcha.
Right. So, I mean, I'm going to make a motion that we make a recommendation that planning and zoning review the signage rules in the historic area.
And frankly, staff appreciates that. That's something that I have been wanting to look at, and I'm in lockstep with you in that regard.
I
So,
second the motion. Can I second the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Okay, so we still need to vote on this. Go ahead, sir.
And before you vote, then I would encourage you right now to still grant a variance for a business owner in this town. It seems like we spent a lot of time talking about how we can keep a business from trying to advertise their business right now. That scares me a little bit. And again, a lot of that is city council, and I'll hand it to Aaron because he and I have had a lot of discussions about this along the way. And you know, the backlit and the cabinet and everything else comes into play. We need to go back and look at that, but how long will that take? And I was thinking the same thing for Lowe's a minute ago. How long will it take to get that done? We move at the speed of government. This is gonna be pretty slow. So please take that into consideration.
Okay, are we ready to vote?
I just want to ask, one last thing, I think, you know, we're talking about a historic district, Historic Preservation Committee approved this, remember? So I want to stress that as well, as we're not designing this on our own. The people who are, you know, inclined to take the hardest, deepest look at that, though they did have a single person oppose that thought, the group as a whole approved the
And
request.
the problem, the basic problem that we have is, you know, we still have to comply with the law regarding variances. And the fact that the Historic Commission thought that the sign was pretty is not legally, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, I don't believe that's legally justification for a variance.
Approving it.
Am I wrong about that, Mark?
Well, you're not.
Aaron, you want to read it?
Okay. Whereas the board does find and determine the properties in question, located at 600 West Front Street, is within the city limits of the city of Washington and is located in a C2 general commercial zoning district. And whereas City Code Section 405.080 C2 states internally or backlit cabinet signs are prohibited in any city historic district, landmark, design review area, or any other district or properties listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Whereas the applicant is requesting a variance from these requirements by proposing an internally lit cabinet sign within the design review area, now therefore be it resolved that the request to vary the code to allow an internally lit cabinet sign granted, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the city of Washington are met. The city planner is hereby directed to issue planning approval for such sign as described in accordance with this resolution of decision. Kevin Creedy.
Yes.
Wynn Mantle.
No.
Mark Scornia.
Yes.
Samantha Wacker.
No.
Lori Struberg.
No.
All right. Let's have it. Thank you.
We are moving on to file number 26-0405, 1303 West Main Street.
Yes. Good evening. Good evening. So, 1303 West Main Street. This is a property off West Main here, located in the R1A residential district. Essentially, what has happened here is the applicants submitted the site plan that you see in yellow on your screen to the the building and engineering department, and they tore down an old house. And proposed this new house here that's I've kind of laid out where it'll be located in the old house, and there's a garage that is existing on site. Per code, per our accessory structure regulations, we do not allow accessory structures as in the front yard. And there is a provision in our code, however, that says if a garage is located closer than 10 feet to the main building, it shall be regarded as part of the main structure. So if they moved it within 10 feet, you wouldn't have to worry about the setbacks. You wouldn't have to worry about a accessory structure in the front yard. However, this garage, as you can see here, it does not open to the south or the west. It opens north. And so if you moved that primary structure within 10 feet of the accessory structure, the garage here, you wouldn't be able to get any vehicles out of it. And here's a street view, a Google Earth imagery showing the former, this is from 1995, showing the former house and former garage here. And so staff's view is because this lot is kind of weirdly shaped here. You know, there's a bunch of terrain means that the home can only be built in so many places, and there already was so this nonconformity. So while this will be a new nonconformity, the nonconformity itself is not new to the lot. The old home was demolished earlier this year, I believe. The applicant can correct me if I'm wrong. So the ask here is to allow them to keep the existing garage on site as they build their new home. And the applicant is here tonight if you want to give your piece to the board.
Good evening.
Good evening. I hate talking in front of people.
It's okay, you're all right.
So it is.
Please
an-
identify yourself.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm Kelly Bitt. My husband and I bought this property. We wanted to rehab the house that was there. It was like 125 years old, got into it, spent a lot of money on it, and found out that there were a lot of problems that we didn't want to continue with. And for the amount of money that we were gonna spend end of the build, it just wasn't gonna be worth it. So we did tear it down, and with all of the toys my husband has, we would really like to keep that garage. To build one behind the house would mean, it's just, there's a runoff down to the river, and it would mean a whole lot of fill, and it just wouldn't be feasible for us at this time. And it will be in city limits, so you guys don't want us to sit a bunch of stuff outside either, so. That's where
awesome.
we're at.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak about the property? Board, go ahead. Good evening.
I'm Harriet Salaberry,
Hi,
and I'm a
Harriet.
neighbor
Yeah.
to this garage and to hopefully our new neighbors. And that garage has been there forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's never bothered anybody. Everybody I've talked to in the neighborhood is just fine with it. Nobody is being put out. Nobody's being offended. It's there. And I know I've met these people since they've bought the lot, and they intend to actually improve the look of the garage as well.
Right.
And it's very important, to make this work, because it's going to be in a great location, and it's getting off of it's just going to make it better for them as well. And as I said, I haven't spoken with anybody who is objecting to this.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions?
It looks like someone else wants to speak.
Come on up.
Yep.
Hi, Dale Gravy. I live on Catawba there, which is back there. I'd like to, just show support for the neighbor, what they're doing there. That property's been an eyesore for a long time, so everybody in the neighborhood has talked about that, and nobody has any objections. We'd like to see them do whatever they need to do to keep going.
Awesome.
It's looking much better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So by moving it behind that
Looks
other
like
house.
someone else wants to speak, so.
Come on up.
No, don't apologize.
We're
Hi,
happy to
I'm
hear from
Andrea Rao, and I'm neighbor to the west. And I just want to say that an improvement to this property would benefit everyone. I don't see that, and I understand that you're going to rebuild that other garage, right? Is that correct? Yeah.
The one that's there is going to, it's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Beautiful as it can.
It does not look good now, and Judge Ladd would agree that it's time for it to be redone in any way, shape, or form, rest in peace. But as a neighborhood, the feedback that I've received is that this is a good decision for them to improve it, and that we will be lucky to have them. Thank you.
Nice.
So what we're looking at here is what code would allow, right? But-
Correct, yes.
But where it's
If the home-
at currently is behind that house. Yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
It seems like this one leans exactly what Mark was talking about earlier, when you're limited by topography.
Right.
and lot,
There is a
that
hardship.
sort of thing. There's a hardship.
Yeah. And that, the garage sits back off of Main Street too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are not very many lots like this in Washington, for sure.
Ready to vote?
Ready?
Okay, will you please read it?
Okay. Whereas the board does find and determine that the property in question, located at 1303 West Main, is within the city limits of the city of Washington and is located in an R1A single-family residence zoning district, and whereas City Code Section 150B4 states, any accessory structure that is not part of the main structure shall be located in the side or rear yard. Whereas the applicant is requesting a variance from these requirements by proposing an existing garage to remain in the front yard when a new home is built. Now therefore be it resolved that the request to vary the front yard accessory structure allowance is hereby granted, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the City of Washington are met. The Engineering and Building Department is hereby directed to issue a building permit for the house with the garage located in the front yard as described in accordance with this resolution of decision. Kevin Creedy.
Yes.
Gwen Montal.
Yes.
Mark Scornia.
Aye.
Lori Struberg.
Yes.
Samantha Weicker.
Yes.
Ayes have it.
The ayes have it. Congratulations. Thanks for the improvements. Okay, on to file number 26-0406, 1000 Washington Square Center.
Yes, so the building on screen is, this is the location of the proposed site. That building is no longer there, it's demolished, but it will be the site of it's the proposed site of a 7 Brew and 7 Brew Coffee. They are requesting a variance for their signage allowance. So they are requesting a total wall/building sign allowance of 115 square feet. And so that being said, here is their current sign allowance, given, the existing, code. And as I've mentioned, a number of times, some of the applicable design requirements are, the maximum total area of all wall or building signs, is based on the maximum, number of total square feet of the principal building face area. And that's 5% in C2 districts. So when you do the math here, on the front and rear signage, you're allowed 30 feet of signage for both the front and the rear. And the right side of 7 Brew will face that private drive, so you get an additional 24 square feet of signage. So you're at around 54 square feet of building signage allowed. There's that measurement again. So 7 Brew has requested a variance, and this is the hardship they listed. Limiting the attached building signage to the code maximum allowed would inhibit the use for 7 Brew corporate standard signage. This would create a disadvantage that other businesses in the area don't have, and is ultimately a result of our unique business model and building efficiency. And 7, just a couple notes here. They aim for brand standardization, and they typically use the same signage across locations. So that being said, here's some 7 Brew locations across the country, all with the exact same signage. That being said, I found a couple examples here where it might be a little difficult to tell, but they've kind of varied either their front medallion or their side signage here. And something staff would like to note is by code, they're allowed to have a much larger freestanding sign than they currently have. They're requesting a 100 square foot pylon sign freestanding, and that could be up to 250 square feet and 50 square feet tall. So staff recommends denial of the variance, as there are a number of, I point this out in my staff report, that there are a number of businesses of this size that have similar signage allowances that have success along our commercial corridors, and the economic hardship is not necessarily a variance, perhaps. And I believe the applicant is on Teams. Let me pull up Teams here. Brian, hello.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good.
Appreciate you having me. I will be fairly quick in my presentation. You did a pretty good overview. One thing I would hit on when I say the uniqueness of our building and the efficiency of the building, it's a very small building. It's about 510 square feet. Obviously, it's drive-through only, so a lot of the business of what we're doing is happening in the drive-through, and that's where the uniqueness comes in. We're trying to keep the brand standard of Seven Brew. We do have the ability to modify some, but brand standard's important for us, and visibility on the road to get customers in and out is important. So that's why we're asking for the variance to allow our full signage package on the building. One thing we would offer, and we would be more than happy to do, if we could get the full building signage, we would negate the pylon sign in its entirety and not install the pylon. So I will take any questions that the board may have.
So I guess my question would be, and maybe you'll need to ask the applicant, is there a hardship relating, is there a hardship that wasn't created by the company? That's what I'm struggling with, is it seems to me that the hardship is something they created, and that's where my struggle is. And I guess, Mark, a hardship that the property owner creates is not legally a reason for a variance.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
The question was, did you hear the question, or?
Yeah, I think it's about whether or not we created the hardship. I mean, obviously we created our building to the size it is for our model. So technically speaking, no, we did not create a hardship. The way that the code is written, I guess, creates the hardship for us, so.
The chicken and egg.
And I go back to the far side of this same development where we
Yep.
turned down the mattress store, and I look at those signs and I'm like, why the hell do those signs need to be bigger? I can
Yeah.
see them from everywhere, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, they're right there on the highway. There's a lot of visibility. There's no trees. There's no buildings in front of it. Mm-mm. So,
Does anyone here want to weigh in on this? Nope, okay. Staff, any other questions? Ready to vote? Okay.
Okay,
Rolling, Aaron.
ready to vote. Whereas the board does find and determine that the properties in question located at 1000 Washington Square is within the city limits of the city of Washington and is located in a C2 general commercial zoning district, and whereas City Code Section 405.035A states the maximum total area of wall signs shall not exceed the lesser of the following, either 5% of the principal building face area or 4 square feet per foot of street frontage for properties in the C2 district. Whereas the applicant is requesting a variance from these requirements by proposing a 114.77 square foot sign allowance in the C2 district. Now therefore be it resolved that the request to vary the code to allow 114.77 square foot sign allowance granted, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the City of Washington are met. The city planner is hereby directed to issue planning approval for signs within the new allowance as described in accordance with this resolution of decision. Roll call. Kevin Creedy.
no.
Wynn Montal.
No.
Mark Scornia.
Nay.
Samantha Wacker.
No.
Lori Struberg.
no.
All right, the nays have it. Brian, thank you for joining.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. This is file number 26-0408, 14 West Main Street, reduced required off-street parking.
And before we get started, I just wanted to share, I own property that is neighboring, and so I will not be participating in the discussion or the voting.
Thank you. Yes, so 14 West Main, this is at the corner of Main and Jefferson Street here, and the applicant is requested a variance to reduce the amount of off-street parking in order to construct a new building here. So this is the rendering of the proposed building. It's a proposed, this applicant is also required to go before well, actually, they're going before council later tonight to approve a special use permit, so this can be somewhat, at the corner here. But they are required to provide, let's see, where are we here? They're required to provide 416 off-street parking spaces, as it is part amusement center, part event center, and part bowling alley. And so just working out the calculations here, total floor area dedicated to amusement games, around 2,000 square feet, divide that by 50, 12 bowling lanes times 5, and the total floor area of the event space, you get up to 416 required off-street parking spaces. The applicant is proposing 160 off-street spaces, and something to note here is that this parking lot over here, while not directly on site, does count towards the number of off-street parking spaces, as our code says. Any parking area located not more than 300 feet from the nearest primary entrance of the principal building shall be counted towards that calculation. So even though this lot over here, the old US Bank lot, is not contiguous to the bowling alley entertainment center development, those parking spaces still count towards the off-street standards here. So that being said, why is the applicant requesting a variance for this? Well, in the C3 district, which is downtown, most uses are not required any sort of off-street parking. Section B1A states that off-street parking requirements shall not apply to the reoccupancy of existing buildings or structures, whether or not the new use is similar to the previously permitted use when located within the following area of the C3 Central Commercial District. What it does not say is new structures shall be required to meet our existing off-street parking requirements. What is interesting about this is this was not always the case. Prior to a lot of the code changes that occurred from 2016 to 2017, there was no off-street parking required downtown, and then this provision was adopted. And I see Andy here tonight, and he can correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm going to bring up a couple examples, but I believe that all of his, essentially what has happened here is that this provision was never really enforced when it came to a lot of the newer kind of infill that we see downtown. So 14 West Main, but kind of an interesting situation presents itself where, 1 East Main, it does meet our off-street parking requirements, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but the parking was not built because staff said, here are your off-street parking requirements. It was built for marketability. So this is a provision that has not necessarily been enforced over time, and in staff's view, maybe shouldn't, given the character of downtown. And then just a couple other examples of some of the residential infill that we've seen post 2016. It all meets our off-street parking requirements over that 1.5 spaces per unit. But once again, it was built. The parking was built for marketability, not due to the planning department enforcing off-street parking requirements. And so just a couple of things to note here. This is a map of city-owned / leased public parking locations. They provide the general public with off-street parking areas within downtown. And requiring the same amount of off-street parking downtown compared to other areas of town would potentially require the destruction of historic properties essential in maintaining the vibrant historic character of downtown. This is a graphic here just showing the distance that you'd have to walk from the back of the, because oftentimes, walking distance is a concern, how close the parking actually is to the facility itself. And so this is a graphic here comparing, the distance to walk from the back of Walmart's parking lot to the front door versus, the parking here at Lafayette and Main to, the entrance to this new bowling center. So to close out here, just a couple things of note. The areas highlighted in red are the extent of the applicant's property. There is not enough room to build the required amount of off-street parking. And essentially, staff recommends approval of the variance as requiring the same parking standards downtown as our commercial highway corridors does not make sense and is not feasible for the applicant. And this being said, given that staff has in the past maybe not enforced this rule that was changed in 2017, 14 West Main would be the first new development downtown the city has required off-street parking for since 2019. I believe the applicant is here tonight if you'd like to speak to the board.
Hello.
Good evening.
Dale Greify, developer here in town, Sirens Hotel, Sirens Collective, and the Alley. And this is about the alley expansion. We feel we need a bowling center, and it's kind of to build a moat around our business. It's necessary. And this is where we want to build it. We're trying to keep at least the oldest part of 14 West. There's a section of that building that was built in 1860, and we're keeping all the brickwork on the inside of it, and that'll be part of the build. But keeping the old building does spread us out, you know, so we're chewing up a lot of our lot, trying to maintain that. 400 parking spots downtown, it just not possible. We did make efforts to acquire as much of the parking as we could, because we knew this was coming. We're excited about what that could do for the downtown area too. There's gonna be a convention slash conference area, not as big as what we wanted to do at first, but it's still gonna be there, and we think it'll really help foot traffic downtown. We are freeing up a lot of street parking. At one time, there was 6 different entrances around the block going in. All of those are going away. We're just gonna have 2, so there'll be more street parking that we're gonna free up. That's pretty much it. We don't see a way of getting 400 parking spots. We've acquired all we could, and we ended up with, I think I got 120 in the old US Bank lot, and then we would have 40 that will remain at the 14 West lot, and then there's public parking there around Lafayette Plaza. I'm not sure how many spots are there, but
Yeah, it's like 14-ish. That number could be wrong, but it's around there.
okay.
Sir, what's the capacity of your building?
Still working on that. We're still getting final floor plans, but we thought we wanted to go through this process because it could size us. You know, we could end up having to eliminate some building or knock down some old, depending on what we have to build. We figured we better go through this first before we go as far as engineering.
I guess really my question is, on any given day, on your best day, how many patrons do you expect?
I think the occupancy is gonna end up around 500. That's a ballpark guess.
Mix
right?
of adults and kids, right?
Yeah. Oh, we're really gearing towards family entertainment.
So not every one of those kids is gonna drive their own car,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I think the calculations are a little, you know, bowling lanes.
Generous.
You know, the 14 to 16 bowling lanes, we'll see how it comes out. You know, we're still working on our projections and stuff, but, you know, those take up a lot of square footage. And, you know, how many people are on a lane, you know? So I think it's the 400 probably wouldn't even be necessary if this was located out on the 147 corridor, much less downtown.
Right.
So.
Questions?
Well, I have a concern. You know, I fear that a lot of people won't realize that parking behind it, and it's going to congest the residential area. You know, we've got a lot of great developments downtown, businesses, homes, and everything. My concern is that all these people are going to park on the streets, and they're really going to congest that residential area.
The concern is that people coming to our establishment will take up the street parking.
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna park where it's closest, you know. But, you know, I feel like my business probably is just as, my patrons have just as much right to those spots as anybody else's.
What are your hours gonna be?
Oh, the hours?
Yeah.
Probably the same as what we're doing now. Friday and Saturday, 1 a.m. Sunday to 9 a.m. and then Monday through Thursday, 11 p.m.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak for this?
So,
Or- go
Mark,
ahead.
since I am not participating in the discussion, can I speak as a neighboring property owner?
You can.
Okay.
I think Andy.
Okay, I'll let Andy go first.
Keep your seat. Keep your
Okay.
seat.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just, you know, I'm trying
Go out there.
to follow the rules.
Hi, Andy Understall, representing Maine and Lafayette Properties. We own the old Pekka building, known as. And, you know, Dale and Lisa have spent a lot of money downtown, and, you know, I love everything they're doing, and, you know, great for the community, but we are a little bit concerned about the parking. Would like to know if that parking, the new parking at the US Bank will that be public parking, or will that be, you know, just dedicated for, you know, because, like, you know, if we have our tenants come back and everybody's parked around the block, like you said, they're gonna park the easy spots, can they go park in that lot without being towed away, you know? Because, you know, with the tenants in those buildings, and then it's gonna back up down Main Street, because how many spots are you losing in the lot you have now? Or not using, because on the other side of the building, I guess it's going to be,
That's Andy's.
that parking's gonna go away on that side too.
That parking will be going away too.
All right.
That's why I've been on.
Dale, could you come forward, please? Thank you.
That's why I try to participate in some of these parking groups that the city has put together, really trying to influence this parking issue. And it is, and we're definitely open to conversations, and I've brought it up about that US Bank lot being public parking. That's ultimately what we'd like to see. I even got some quotes on what it would cost to get a 3-story, 350-car parking structure, and my numbers were better than, I was at like 12,000 a spot, which is less than half of what normal, because the lot's so big, it's the best location to do it. So I'm trying everything I can. I'd love to see that public parking. We don't want to police, you know, these are our potential customers, you know, we don't want to throw people out and police it. But yeah, I mean, we have to protect the interest of our business, and if there's limited parking downtown, then yeah, we're gonna make that for alley customers. The US Bank lot, you know, it's a privately owned lot that we'd want to protect the interests of our patrons. There is public parking all around Lafayette, you know. The answer I keep getting on the public parking is it's like a perceived problem. There's not a real problem. I think it's a perceived problem because all the private property owners leave their parking lots open for the public to use, as we do. And it's been talked about that if we all just chained off our lots, it would quickly see that it's not perception, it's a real parking issue. You know, we all leave it open for parades and everybody fills their lots, and that's wonderful, you know, let everybody do it. But the only way I can answer Andy's question is, yeah, we'd be up for a conversation for making that a public lot, you know. But, you know, we paid money for it, so, you know, we can get something for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I echo your concern, Lori. I mean, you know, what you guys have done downtown under Stalls and Greifes has been nothing short of fantastic. But it is a concern, and as Dale pointed out, every survey that comes back that I've seen over the years, you know, says parking downtown's a problem.
Yeah, it would be a great asset to the downtown. It just, how it's going to affect that area until we get that parking lot. But because, you know, like I say, if the tenants come home at night, you know, from work, and they can't, there's no place, don't be any places left. You know, everything's gonna be pushed to the street, which would be great for the business, obviously, and great for the community, but, you know, it is gonna be a problem there, so.
Did you want to speak?
Thank you for your time.
So, hey,
Thank you, Andy.
so I own, Samantha Cerruti Wacker, obviously. I own the TAM building, if you can point that, it's in one of the little spots there. It's the little patch on
Oh.
Second and Jefferson. So I'm
This
like-
right here?
Yeah, that right there, that's me. So, the Greifes have been good neighbors, and, you know, I feel confident as a neighbor and as a downtown property owner, that they're going to continue to be responsible downtown property owners. They've invested quite a bit, and certainly everybody investing in downtown is good for the community. So I don't have concerns, because like I said, they've been good neighbors, and I just have no concerns, and I'm looking forward to go bowl on my lunch hour.
Darren, I think, yeah.
Please, come on up.
My name's Joe Reed, and I own Joe's Bakery in Delta, right next door to, and they're nice people, get along with them fine and everything, but parking is already an issue, and with this big development, it's gonna be a huge issue, let alone, traffic. If you go down, you know, on a Saturday, down there, you know, it's, and people, you know, the police don't really go down Main Street, and there's a lot of traffic, and people drive crazy, okay, and just, well, that's really all I have to say. It's just traffic and parking is my main concern. And as a business owner and business there, and getting older, but, you know, I'm gonna be selling probably not that distant in the future. I think it will devalue my property greatly, because there won't be any parking available. Because there's 2-hour parking signs, but nobody pays attention to them. They're totally ignored. And you know, so that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for speaking up.
Yes.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Absolutely.
So, Aaron and I, when Aaron brought this to my attention with regards to that modification in the code about requiring it for new construction, one of the reasons why we have not, why we've had this, not requiring off-street parking for development in the downtown commercial district, another reason that was not talked about, I checked with Mark while I was gone to make sure this wasn't covered, was the fact that we also do not want to go ahead and require parking to the extent that it would, require historic structures to go ahead and be demolished just for the purpose of creating the parking. That's another reason why you have that within the code. So regardless, I know based on previous comments from previous agenda items, there's some homework to be done. I did tell Aaron, I think that this is definitely something that we're going to look at to see, do we really need to go ahead and require this for new construction? Because that's certainly not what we want to do, is require that, that some, parking requirements would sit there and cause a developer to go ahead and consider, well, I'll have to buy this house and this house, tear them down in order to meet the parking requirements. That's certainly not something that we want. I do know that in this case, there may be talking about a lot of parking spaces based upon, the use, et cetera, but that's the reason why that is not, and I don't think that was changed until 2017 when the code was revised.
To require off-streat parking
Yes,
for
new construction.
That's correct.
So
Yeah.
that's, I think, that might have been, the city's zoning code got a lot of extensive overhaul at that time. We consulted with, or used, I should say, PGAV to go ahead, review our codes, and so that's something that changed, that, like I said, up until this week, and thanks to Aaron pointed out that it existed, we need to probably take a look at that. So.
That is, thank you, Darren, for saying that. That is staff's view completely as well, so.
Hello, come on up.
I'm Chad Greify. I'm also one of the owners of The Alley, and I just wanted to answer back to Joe, and thank you so much for responding. We completely agree. Traffic is definitely a huge issue with the downtown. And yeah, if you go to The Alley on a Saturday night, that Main Street area is very busy, and that's why when we did the designs for this new building, our main focus is a Second Street entrance to try to pull some of that congestion away from the Main Street. That way, right now when people think of The Alley, don't think of parking on that US Bank building parking lot, the old US Bank, because it is 2 blocks away. But now when your main entrance is from Second, it's 1 block away. So it's going to pull some of that congestion away from Main Street. So I say that'll help out with that.
Thank you.
So go back to the picture of that. So those buildings are going to have that's the main entrance there?
So the red building that you see would be the new building, and the gray building is the current old Missourian building. That is what is there right now.
Right.
And please don't look at it off of, this is what it's going to look like, the building. We have not even looked at the exterior. It's going to look way better. So we always have to make sure we stress that. But the main entrance will be the second street, so people will know, oh, go to this parking lot, and it's just right there.
So knowing that on the left side here, on the other side of the Missourian, I understand those lots are going away too. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to comment on that. Just the portion of them.
Spaces,
Yeah, they're on Andy's Produce. We're gonna, well, you can see that where the new structure is, that's where they're currently at. Our first step is gonna be moving Andy's Produce over to that left-hand side. So that narrow, which I don't think that parking lot would meet the 19-foot code requirement.
No.
It definitely wouldn't, yeah.
You can barely pull in there anyway,
Yeah.
so those parking spots probably need to go away anyway. But that's where Andy's Produce's outdoor area would be along there. And you can kind of see they would come all the way to the edge of the building, and where you see the trash fencing around there, they'd come all the way to there.
Do you want the pointer? Would that be helpful?
Maybe.
So is that
Are you
going to
holding it
be
down?
Andy's all in the old Missourian then? What's going to be in there? Is that,
Smaller building to the left.
Oh, that's part of the bill. So there's existing 20,000 square foot. Andy's Produce will take up 2,500. The new structure will be an additional, counting the mezzanine, an additional 30,000 square foot. So we're looking at 50,000 square foot facility.
okay.
The entire basement, well, ground level from Main Street, basement from the Second Street entrance, that'll be bowling. The mezzanine will be convention conference. The old structure is food, restaurant, pool hall, small music venue, which will have ticketed events, comedians, concerts, things like that. It's a family entertainment complex. And we'll be moving everything from the existing Alley 7 West, the arcade, and the beer garden, and the pool tables and all that will come to this new facility. 7 West will become all playscapes, all for different age groups, 3 and under area. And so we want to build a family entertainment complex, which would be consist of, 2 addresses and then the parking at US Bank.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm wondering, is this gonna look more like a festival weekend on a daily basis or a weekend basis, right?
Right.
With parking all over, because there's some more lots that people use on the weekends, right? And is it a good thing to see those lots full or versus off-street? I mean,
I think it's good to see them full, but not
Right.
overpowering.
right. And that's the question, I think.
Have you determined the impact of your building for sizing it to meet current parking state requirements?
I'm sorry?
Have you determined the impact on your business, on your building, if you sized it to meet current parking state, instead of going for the 220 down to the
Yeah,
160?
those current calculations, I don't know, that'd be a good exercise, how many.
I would say it would be safe to assume you would have to, level a whole other block, to get enough parking to meet
No, I
these.
mean, if you,
No, we're talking about
Oh, the
reducing
building?
the building size.
Reducing the square footage.
Or
Oh, that would be interesting, yeah, I don't know.
Parking is available.
Well, if we're at 400 now, and I have,
I mean, I would almost think you wouldn't even have room to build a new building at that point.
could maybe get bowling lanes in.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess the 20,000 square foot in my existing structure, I don't need any off-street parking.
That's correct,
I
yep.
can do whatever I want to that building.
Correct.
Okay.
Mhm, yep.
So then it's just the new structure, and I don't know if we.
And that's also something to note, the parking calculations that you see, the 416, that's just for the new build. That's not for any of the uses in the entertainment complex, the greater entertainment complex.
So we've kicked around, the perceived, when it came to traffic committee, Darren's been involved in those discussions when it comes to the amount of handicap parking in the downtown area, and the perception because people want to park directly in front of a building, but yet they don't want to park in the old bank parking lot and walk a block, you know, versus filling those lots up. There is some of that perception thing going on too, just because people are lazy.
Absolutely.
Not to
I
put
was
too
told,
fine a
we've been
point on
talking
it.
about this for about 4 years. You know, and just slowly opening up different, because they're all gonna feed into one business, you know. We actually wanted a hotel convention center downtown. That seemed to be too big of a project, so we sized things down. But at one time, we were told that, you know, the parking issue to get like a public parking lot downtown, like the one that we really need, you almost have to create the problem first. You know, so, okay, so, you know, we feel like the public parking has been an issue, and I think almost all the business owners agree. You know, I've never talked to one that didn't say, oh, no, parking's fine. You know, everybody agrees. And say, okay, well, we gotta, and my comment to that was, well, okay, we're gonna create a problem, you know, we're gonna increase, and we've done that. You know, Main Street now is packed, you know, and especially on the weekends. So at some point, you know, I'd love it if this committee could make a recommendation that, you know, we look at public parking downtown, you know, and we're definitely open to a conversation about our property, you know, that becoming public parking. I don't know what to do about the issue, you know. We wanna build this thing, you know. And first we're told, well, you gotta create a problem first. And then I go to create the problem, and it's like, well, wait a minute, you're creating a problem. Yeah, I agree. So.
Thank you very much. Anybody?
Tough one.
It is. It's a hard one.
It is.
Questions?
Nope.
Nope. Do we want to vote? Do we want to make recommendations?
I do want to comment, based on what I think it was you, Kevin, that said, or one of you over there, about handicap. And not necessarily that, but also going back to Joe's comment too, I can see where it could be an issue for Joe's, where somebody doesn't want to park a block away to go into the restaurant, especially somebody who can't walk. I get
That's what was
people
kicked
don't
around.
want to
The
walk.
Traffic
Yes.
committee did an inventory. The engineering did a count of all the handicap spots downtown, and they're there. It's just they may be a block away, as you say, from where you want to go.
If he has on-site parking like that, those are gonna be your designated handicap parking spaces. There's gonna be a required number in that parking lot closest to the building.
Okay.
I mean, according to the numbers, it's 230 versus 160, so we're 70 parking spaces short, right? I mean, that's probably 2 or 3 solid city blocks parked full on both sides, outside of what you're parking in the parking lots, right? So,
I'm not sure making a recommendation is going to do any good because of the uniqueness of what's here. You know,
I think we're on the verge of just change, right? Washington's becoming this great downtown area, and I would love to see the streets full, and more people down there means more business for everybody. But how do we balance that with the people who live there?
Agreed, because we've done a great job of bringing businesses and residents to the downtown. It's a beautiful area. I love this idea. I think it's fantastic, but I am concerned about the number of off-street parking that we're going to lag.
it kind of goes back to my Lowe's discussion, right? If they were in the middle of town and city parking was
Exactly.
readily available on all sides, instead of up against the residential neighborhood, it might be a different situation.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Whereas the board does find and determine that the properties in question located at 14 West Main is within the city limits of the city of Washington and is located in a C3 central commercial zoning district, and whereas City Code Section 400, 6.5C requires bowling alleys to provide 5 spaces for each bowling lane, plus spaces otherwise required for any additional uses such as restaurants, bars, and indoor amusement centers. Indoor amusement centers are required to provide 1 space for each 50 square feet devoted to amusement devices, virtual reality games, restaurants, and bar areas. Banquet centers, bingo halls, except as may be associated with churches, lodges, or other such uses. And reception halls are required to provide 1 space for every 5 seats, or where no fixed seating is provided, 1 space for each 50 square feet of floor area, exclusive of kitchen, restroom, and storage areas, plus spaces as required herein for affiliated uses, if any. Whereas the applicant is requesting a variance from these requirements by requesting they only be required to provide 160 off-street spaces. Now therefore be it resolved that the request to vary the code to allow 160 required off-street parking spaces granted, provided that all other ordinances and regulations of the City of Washington are met. The required off-street parking for the proposed development at 14 West Main shall be as described in accordance with this resolution of decision. Roll call. Kevin Creedy.
Love this idea, but I think it needs a little more work, so I'm a no.
Gwen Montal.
Same thing, no.
Mark Scornia.
No.
Samantha Wacker.
Abstain?
Lori Struberg.
No.
All right. Noes have it.
Okay, before we adjourn, I would just like to make a recommendation. I think you all support it, that staff and planning and zoning move as fast as possible in reviewing their policies to encourage the businesses that we've seen come before us tonight.
Absolutely. Staff agrees.
Okay. Motion adjourned?
Thank you. Second?
All
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Woo, get me out of here. Meeting adjourned, thank you. All right. Thank you, dear.
That's a toughie.
Yeah.
Said you move it 1 block. 1 block south and a couple blocks east, and I'd probably say yes.
No, this was fine. Just some.
Excuse my mess here.
We're used to easy.
Jeez.